Hello and welcome to the Pits of Hell, which honestly are not a fun place to be. It's a little hot down here and a little fiery, but we got some sweet ass Darkfeast bat to play, so I thought why not give that a red hot go. Considering that I could not get buff blood off the ground, I just struggled so much with it. I'd played 30 to 40 games with just a few different variants and got absolutely nowhere, so I went to find something interesting. I now had some decent Diaboloses, so I was like, well, that's a card that could be fun to use. And the new Enraged Commander actually isn't a half bad card. I was a little worried about it in this deck, but it does a wonderful job, so we're going to get right into it and check out Darkfeast Bat. So out of all blood decks so far, I definitely feel like this has been one of the most comfortable for me to play. Like I said, buff blood I had no luck with, didn't really enjoy playing it much, couldn't get the vengeance effects to go off before I was already too low on health that it didn't really matter, which was always a huge problem. Definitely not as comfortable as just straight up playing a Darkfeast Bat deck, which seems to do a much better job at, of course, winning games, even if sometimes they are a little close. We are starting off with a pretty average hand, not really a lot to do. Sometimes, in the first start, I like to decide whether I'm going to aim for a Florist or not, which is why, of course, I played the 0-drop damage, because I decided probably not worth pushing for it right now. Probably better off just going for as much damage as I can to try and get Omen of Lust off the ground as quickly as possible. I definitely feel like that was the right move to make. And at this point, I'm really just aiming for that, getting as much as I can onto the board as fast as I can, while of course watching the dragon player ramp and putting me at a disadvantage straight off the bat. At least Evil Eye Demon should do a nice job. And we've got the Razor Claw plus a quick Evo, so we can still get 4 damage to our opponent even if they heal 2, and it'll bring us back up by 2 as well, putting us both at equal footing on 15. And since we don't really want to use our Evo points on much else other than Enraged Commander and Omen of Lust, maybe a Florist, there really isn't much reason to, hold on to him in the situation we're in right now. And we have the Florist play. We also go, of course, for the extra damage, since we want to draw into probably a 0-cost damage card again. And now that we've set up our healing, we should be pretty okay. Poseidon, that kind of sucks a little bit because currently Omen of Lust, I believe, is 1 ping off being usable, which of course is not a good spot to be with Omen of Lust. You really want it to be active at the moment. For some reason it wouldn't let me click off for a second. But obviously this is actually quite a nice draw. Did a good job at removing that and setting up a 4-7, which isn't going to be super easy to remove on turn 9. But it did mean we took some damage. And perfect, great. Evil Eye Demon. That would have been an amazing card had we not already been at risk. And this was a nice idea, but I definitely shouldn't have gave it to the card that I was about to lose. I probably should have gave it to the 4-2 and set up with a 4-1 and a, 4-3 it probably would have been then, and Evil Eye would have stayed on board, which would have been better. Actually, no, I think we lose Evil Eye either way, because it would have been traded, but we would have ended up with more stats on the legendary. At least now, Lust is usable. Our opponent is basically out of cards. They need to basically pull any decent draw very, very quickly. And we can pretty much just go face for whatever we want. And I wanted to play the Razor so that the Omens would be boosted to 6. And there is Omen of Disdain. Unfortunately, not enough to clear both of these on its own, so they're definitely going to need another card to pick up the win. And without it, we actually have lethal. Thanks to Enraged Commander giving Storm, and Florist having 5 attack, that brings us up to 8. Not even needing the Darkfeast Bat in this matchup. Although it probably would have made my life a little bit easier. And for our next match, we're playing against Rune. This match was pretty mediocre as far as it goes. I believe we're playing against Earth Rune in particular. For memory, off the top of my head. We do start off with what I consider a very good hand. Gift of Bloodkins and Evil Eye Demon actually synergize really nicely on turn 3, giving us 3 pings and the removal on one of the bats. And then going for scrap iron is actually pretty good. And even better, we end up with Disciple. If this was the old time where Florus was usable, we'd actually have an ideal play. Of course, they end up with Vespa, which put us at a bit of a disadvantage, but it's not the worst situation. Not yet, anyway. So, Missile with no targets, that doesn't leave them too many options. Skipping turn 3 as well, because I don't really have an option. And now just making sure I play this outright. So ideally I would have wanted to go Gift of Bloodkin, then Evil Eye Demon. I did make the minor error of going Evil Eye first, but a 1-1 really isn't a big deal to me when I can go for double Evil Eye Demon and save my Wing of Lust anyway. But I would have been able to, of course, clear both followers instead of leaving up the ward, and that would have felt a little bit better, even though we probably would have been left with basically the same board, since I would have evolved the Florus anyway. So really it made little to no difference. So not very useful healing. So can't be damaged by spells and effects. Can of course be damaged by damage from spells and effects. I think that's what it was. Well, maybe not. Either way, wonderful card. Diablos does a great job. So yeah, it can't be destroyed by spells and effects, so it can still be damaged. Similar to most portal cards. Portal followers, they're a bit like that. So I decided to go for the Wings of Lust. We're going to go all in, since we're only going to heal anyway, for 5. Leaving them with just 2 health, meaning we've got a few different ways to end up with lethal. Darkfeast Bat would be nearly the quickest if we don't get Omen. Omen of Lust would do the job nicely as well, I think. I think we should be at 7 on the count. Fortunately, we didn't get it, but Diablos, still, again, really good card. We're not really at much of a risk yet. The Staff of Whirlwinds is really no problem. They did do a wonderful job getting damage on us, though. And I really don't have a choice but to go for this Blood Pact. Fortunately, we did end up getting the Darkfeast Bat, but I wasn't going to risk putting ourselves any closer to lethal, since I believe with a Golem, they would actually put us very, very close to death. So they only would have been able to... They would have been able to play it if they were a bit closer.
That's what I call a fight.
But, of course, the Darkfeast Bat does just close the match right there. Overall, Darkfeast Bat did a wonderful job pulling us from the pits and rising us back up the ladder just a little bit, even though, of course, it wasn't much since I play so many janky decks that my master score never really goes up very high. But hopefully you guys could enjoy this video. Be sure to like button and subscribe for more content. You will find the deck list in the description below. Until next time, see ya.